Lifestyle Larry is your prototypical internet marketer. When most people think of an internet marketer, they're thinking of Larry, right? He's on the beaches of the world, making money, laptop out, taking those Instagram pictures that make you green with envy, the pictures I am absolutely terrible at taking, and all that good stuff. He's doing hashtags like hustling but not really as he's sipping the coconuts. You know, this guy has it made, right? Well, who is this mysterious Lifestyle Larry, this amazing Instagram influencer? What does he do? How do you become like Lifestyle Larry? How do you make money on the beaches of the world? Well, in this video, I am going to talk to you about this buyer persona. We actually got our start as a company selling to Lifestyle Larrys and helping Lifestyle Larrys sell their businesses. So we're very, very familiar with it. Within Empire Flippers itself, we're all digital nomads. Our entire company is remote. I'm in Vietnam right now talking to you from this video, right? Like, I have a beautiful view of the Mekong River right outside of my apartment and all that good stuff. So I am a digital nomad. I understand the Lifestyle Larry very well, and I understand the allure of wanting to become one. So let's dive into how you can be just like Larry. And I'm going to also reveal some truths here. For example, Lifestyle Larry never actually works on the beach. Working on a beach is absolutely terrible. So they don't do it, but they do take a lot of Instagram pictures pretending they do. Let's dive into this video. All right, just like in all of our other videos, if you want to figure out what kind of buyer persona you are, you can go into the link in the description and fill out our buyer persona quiz. And hello, my name is Gregory Elfring. I am the Director of Marketing at Empire Flippers, where we help people buy and sell online businesses every single day of the week. So in this video, we're talking about Lifestyle Larry and who he is and how do you get there. So as the name implies, Larry is very much lifestyle driven, not business driven. And what I mean by that is this is probably someone who has read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss and understands systems and all this kind of stuff and how to leverage time better for basically their own lifestyle. So they're not really focused on the money, they're focused more on life events and how they can engineer a lifestyle that better suits for them. You know, they might not even like the business that they really run. They're not necessarily passionate about it, but they are passionate about the lifestyle it gives them. For example, I have a friend, he runs a clothing business and he kind of doesn't like the clothes at all or the customers that buy that business, but or the customers that buy those clothes, he just thinks they're kind of silly clothes, but he is 100% a Lifestyle Larry because he uses that money to fund his other passions, which is travel and seeing the world, spending all this time in Europe and Asia and all that kind of stuff. So it's not really about the business or Lifestyle Larry, it's about the lifestyle. And that's a very key thing. It's very common, by the way, so in the last video we did newbie norm, it's very common for newbie norms to eventually evolve into a Lifestyle Larry. This is one of the forks in the road. Usually this is the next step in a newbie norm's career as an investor, is to go and become a Lifestyle Larry. So what kind of businesses would you buy in order to become a Lifestyle Larry to get that like beachfront life, Instagram, all that kind of fun stuff, right? What kind of businesses do you look at? Well, you might be surprised, or maybe not, that the type of businesses to buy is actually very similar to what a newbie norm should buy. Lifestyle Larry should buy a pristine business with no problems, because buying a business with issues or problems inherently goes against their lifestyle, right? Like if they buy a business with all these penalties or problems, unless they already know how to fix it, they're going to be spending a lot of time figuring that out. And that's not exactly, cohesive to their actual personal business goals, right? Being able to spend as little amount of time on working as possible and more time out there experiencing the wonders of life, right? So usually if you're a Lifestyle Larry or you aspire to become one, I wouldn't buy a business that has problems. I would buy businesses that are pretty steady year-over-year growth, ideally with no crazy profit charts. Because if a business is becoming too profitable too fast, usually that means there's a fad involved or there's some sort of luck involved that might be running out after you buy the business, right? So keep that in mind. You want to buy something that's steady, pristine, no real problems. So don't look for like the best deal ever, similar to a newbie norm. Look instead for a deal that is solid and reasonable that matches your goals. Another thing about this kind of business acquisition is you want to buy a business that only takes between 2 to 5 hours per week to work. Now there's two things to think about when I say 2 to 5 hours per week. So if you go on to Empire Flippers Marketplace, we actually tell you how many hours per week those sellers work. But what we don't tell you is a lot of times those sellers don't know what they're talking about, because that is 100% a seller thing that they can put in the hours of how much they work. And usually people are terrible, especially entrepreneurs where we have like a bajillion things going on through our head, are absolutely terrible when it comes to time management. So if you see a seller say, I work like 2 to 5 hours a week, that might actually be 10 to 15 hours a week. If you see a seller that says, I work 30 hours per week, he might not actually even work anywhere close to 30 hours per week. He might think he does, but that's because he's including checking email, all this other like robot tasks, checking his analytics, all this other stuff that can really be systemized away where that 30 hours suddenly becomes a 2 to 3 hour business. So if you're a lifestyle Larry, I would advise, of course, look at the businesses where a seller says, I'm working 2 to 5 hours, but also look at businesses where a seller says, I'm working 30, 40 hours per week. Because I bet you if you drill into what that seller is doing every single week, there's probably a lot of inefficiencies that you can get rid of and you can outsource and all that stuff. But realize if you do the latter, you will sacrifice a bit of a lifestyle, at least for the first few months of owning the business, because you gotta go and fix all those inefficiencies, right? But in general, you wanna buy a pristine business, hands off, that requires a minimal amount of time to maintain the business. Obviously, if you wanna grow the business, you're gonna have to work more, and that's just true with anything. So often lifestyle Larrys just want a steady cash flow income. So that they're not really looking to grow, they just want something that's steady. So what kind of businesses are good for this? So there's a few. Very some new norm is content sites and Amazon FBA businesses that already have traction and they're a certain level. Like if you buy a $30,000 to $60,000 Amazon FBA business, I probably wouldn't recommend that if you're a lifestyle Larry, because that is such a small FBA business that it hasn't really gained its own self-sustaining traction yet, at least in my opinion. Now there's probably tons of caveats to that, but if you're going to buy an Amazon FBA business, I'd probably start looking more at the $150,000 level if you're wanting to become a lifestyle Larry with that business model. Other great business models are things like Merch by Amazon, which is Amazon's print-on-demand shirts. Another one is KDP, a lot of Amazon in here, but Kindle publishing. So if you're not familiar with this, it's basically an entrepreneur who hires all these ghostwriters that builds up a pen name, and they act kind of like a publishing house where they own 100% of the books because they created the books, and they only really publish on KDP, but you can go outside of the Kindle program too. All of these lend themselves well with a lifestyle Larry business because they just don't take that much time to run, really, to maintain. Now, obviously, again, if you want to grow the business, totally different story. It's going to take a lot more time and effort and knowledge and skill to grow the business. But if you're just looking to maintain the business as is, then these are great businesses for a lifestyle Larry to look at. All right, so if you are a lifestyle Larry or wanting to become one, there's some things you need to watch out for. There's a lot of traps in this persona that can catch people off guard if they don't keep them top of mind. The first one is not focusing on the business enough to remain your traction. Now, I'm just talking about maintenance here. Like if you're like a hardcore lifestyle Larry where you're working like 1 hour a month, something like that, that might not be reasonable. It might be in an affiliate site situation, but for most businesses, that's not going to be reasonable. You're probably still going to have to work that 2 to 5 hours per week to maintain the business. Go enjoy life and do the things you want to do, but don't allow the business to be destroyed because you didn't pay enough attention to it. If you find yourself falling into this trap where you're just like, I cannot be bothered looking at this thing, then consider selling the business you bought. And that way, if it does lose traction, it won't be because of you, and you get to cash out a little bit on it. Hopefully at a profit, if everything was maintained, you might make a little bit more money that way. So definitely keep focusing on the business. And to follow up with that, also focus a little bit on growth. Spend a little bit every single month figuring out a way you can grow the business a little bit more, because in business, you're either growing or you're dying, right? Like you can only maintain for so long before a competitor comes in and tries to outcompete you. So you always have to be working. You always have to be growing in some way. Now, it doesn't have to be this feverish obsession with growth that the other buyer personas might have. It can be very minimal. All you're looking is to, let's do a little bit better than we did the month before. Nothing crazy, no giant leaps or anything like that. But you should always be focused on growing at least a little bit. Another trap lifestyle Larrys run up against is they just never hire anyone. They're always a solopreneur. They're always just like, they're doing everything. And I am telling you, this is a big, big fallacy. Lifestyle Larrys think like, oh, if I hire someone, now I have to manage them. I don't like managing. I have to talk to them. I just want to, go over here and do this. I don't want to be strapped to my laptop on a Zoom call, right? This is a huge fallacy, because if you are truly lifestyle focused, you should want to hire someone. If you buy a $100,000 business making, say, $3,500 a month, you should definitely want to hire someone for like $1,200, $1,500 a month. Maybe it's part-time or whatever, that could run like 90% of the business. Now you are working 1 hour a month, and that 1 hour a month is the monthly check-in call with the person you hired, right? Which I would actually recommend 4 hours a month. So, because I recommend whoever you hire, you should be having a weekly meeting with them at least once. So anyways, that's neither here nor there. But if you are truly lifestyle focused, hiring someone can be your gateway to making that happen, right? Where you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be the face of the brand. You don't have to run the ads, all this other stuff. Know this going into it though, if you do hire someone, the first 3 to 4 months are probably going to be terrible, because most of the time they won't know what you want them to do, and you have to figure that out, which is in of itself a burdensome task. Like, you need help, but you're not quite sure how they should be helping you, right? So you have to fight through that, and yes, it will dampen the lifestyle aspect for a little bit, but I'm telling you, once you figure it out, is the keys to freedom and leverage in so many different ways, because now it's their problem to focus on the growth of the business, right? While you get to hang out at the beach. Obviously, you're still taking all the risk in terms of capital, so it's still a fairly fair exchange, right? Anyways, so that is a big thing I see lifestyle Larrys fail at. Another trap is just not planning your life well. So this is something I've unfortunately have seen happen a few times. So I live out here in Southeast Asia. I've lived in Europe. I've lived in South America, all across the United States, mostly as a digital nomad. And I often find myself in these digital nomad enclaves that are majority of them filled with lifestyle Larrys. And there will come a day, especially if you become a digital nomad, where you will probably have this experience too, where that person's business, for whatever reason, suddenly is not doing well. And they didn't plan for what happens when that business doesn't do well. And now they're buying a ticket back home and they're getting a job back in their hometown. This is the nightmare of the lifestyle Larry and the digital nomad, right? So when you do this, and when you become a full-time lifestyle Larry, it's always good to plan for your future. Ask, how is my savings? Am I, handling my capital well? Am I managing it good? Because if something like that event happens, where say a Google update happens and destroys your affiliate site overnight, you want to know you have good runway to get something going again. So this is all very important. Similar to Newbie Norm, you should also be, writing down everything you learn into an SOP that's actionable, repeatable, good checklist, all that kind of stuff. So in the worst case scenario where something like that happens, you're not one of the digital nomads buying the ticket to go back home, right? So another thing with lifestyle Larry is it is a very fun lifestyle. It is very fun. Like I've lived it myself, and it is a blast. But there will come a time, most likely, maybe it's a few months, maybe it's a few years, but it will likely happen where you eventually feel a little listless, like, what am I doing with myself kind of scenario, right? And that's because humans, in my opinion, they need to be challenged over and over again and grow in order to be happy. We're only really happy when we're growing, in my opinion, whether that's financially or arts or whatever, So what I recommend for you to look at is every so often ask yourself, are you ready for the next phase in your business career? A lot of lifestyle Larrys, they don't buy the ticket to go back home. Instead, they become one of these other buyer personas I'm about to go into, and they scale something just to the moon, right? I have friends who are their lifestyle Larrys for like 2-3 years, and then they got bored being on the beach and they decided to go build a multi-million-dollar business seemingly overnight with the skills that they had learned and the connections they had acquired while traveling and all that kind of stuff. So when you do get that feeling of listlessness, ask yourself, maybe it's time for me to start leveling up to the next stage, the next phase of my own buyer persona career. And that's just some personal advice from what I have seen from actually being a digital nomad and being out here. So take it as you will. Maybe you'll love the lifestyle Larry lifestyle so much you just never take that advice at all. You just hang out on the beaches of the world. So whichever way, it doesn't matter. And again, I already revealed this at the beginning of this video, but those beach pictures that the digital nomads take, absolutely terrible. Sand gets into your MacBook Pro. do not do that. It's a common trap. There's like glare on the laptop screen while you hear the beautiful ocean and you can't see anything. So you take the picture and then you go back into the dark cafe or co-working space and now you're working. Now you're really hustling, right? This is a great buyer persona. It's near and dear to my heart because a lot of what they value is what I value, which is life events. But just realize this persona, while it's awesome to live for and to buy businesses that help it, there are also a lot of traps if you don't maintain the right mindset about it. So keep that all in mind. And if you'd like to see what kind of buyer persona you are, you can go ahead and click the link down below where you can check out our buyer persona. If you like this video, please subscribe. It means the world to me and it will help us in the YouTube algorithm. Plus you'll get updated every single week whenever we launch a new video, whether it's this one or next one or about internet marketing or whatever. So you can just hear me go on my long monologues. I will see you in the next video and I will talk to you soon. Bye.